Now it's time for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning. And I would say, thank God it's Friday. We have our super articulate analyst, Yolanda Roberts, to spearhead the headlines. And she's right on fire, and she's got her feet burning on the ground.
Well, Benga, I don't know if I've got my feet burning on the ground, but thank God it's Friday for sure.
I know you said some things behind the scene, but that seems a story for another day.
That's right.
I won't bail the cat yet.
Thank you for joining us, viewers, this morning, and we're going to take a look at what the headlines this morning, starting off with this day. So let's pull that up on our screens for us to see. Now, on this day, we have ADC Tinubu has just signed a death warrant of credible elections. It seems like we're in election season already, Benga. All the talks are already upon what we're going to face, including tomorrow with the FCT.
The entire political space is charged.
Yes, absolutely. Still on this day as well, we have the historic first former Prince Andrew arrested in the UK over alleged misconduct. Still looking at what's in front of this day, we have at the top, after Tinubu's intervention, Rivers Assembly suspends Fubara's impeachment. Very interesting story there, Benga. Maybe you later on you'll give us a few highlights about that. Unrealistic revenue assumptions. Senate threatens to slash 58.47 trillion naira from the 2026 budget. Lots of queries ahead there. Looking at other papers now, we have The Punch with FG states local government allocations may increase by 15 trillion naira. The president moves to channel oil proceeds directly to the Federation account. NNPC, NUPRC, NRS revenues have been affected. At the top of The Punch, we have Al Rufai's lawyer protests home raid amid ICPC detention. We heard in an earlier report how El Rufai's home was raided by the ICPC, and so I guess his lawyers and his team is kicking against what has happened. Also in The Punch, FG defers 70% of 2025 capital budget to 2026. We saw a similar headline there in this day. As well, moving on to Vanguard, we have Edun raises alarm over rising debt service burden. He says that debt servicing now costs outstrips foreign financial inflows. G24 cross-border payments have become too costly and slow. That's by Cardoso. Members face constrained physical space. Still in that, let's take another headline. How we tackled arrested or church attackers, the DSS witnesses tell the court. Still in Vanguard, Senate tackles economic team over poor implementation of budget. Another story we're going to look more into detail on later is terrorists kill 34 fasting Muslims in latest attack in Kebbi State. As we were taking the headlines, we saw how this is a Lukarawa attack, as it has been already, announced, but we look more into the details later. Moving on to Daily Trust, again, ICPC raids El Rufai's Abuja residence, and FCT council polls how PDP candidates withdrew from the race. We'll be taking a look at that, Benga. I hope you're ready for the breakdown. Looking at the international papers now, we have The Guardian. And on the front there, we have a picture of former royal Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. As the king says, the law must take its course after his arrest yesterday. We see him there looking very sweaty, very embarrassed, and quite shameful in the back of a car there. Same thing with the son, first royal to be held since Charles I in 1647. He was held for 11 hours in police custody, and ironically on his birthday as well. Benga, it seems like a lot of these high-profile people are being held on their birthday. We saw the same thing with El Rufai. Exactly, the other day.
Turning himself in for investigation exactly on his birthday, February 16th.
And now we're seeing this with former Prince Andrew in a not so flattering photo. And it
Very
says there...
uncomplimentary.
Absolutely.
Of someone of a royal status. But
wow.
anyway, we'll wait till the end of the investigation.
Absolutely. Moving on, Daily Express, same thing. The law must take its course. I think it's also a defining moment for the royal family as we are looking to see how this downfall, how the royal family really just handles the media and the legal aspects of it. Daily Mail, looking haggard, shamed and haunted. Andrew's release from police custody 11 hours after his arrest plunged the modern monarchy into its gravest peril. Now let's look at those headlines in detail now. Benga, the FCT polls, they're saying 1.5 million voters decide as campaigns end. Now tomorrow is D-Day. The FCT AMAC elections are finally here. Now INEC has said that over 1.5 million voters have collected their permanent voter cards across the 6 area councils of the Federal Capital Territory ahead of the elections that are coming up tomorrow. The announcement by INEC comes as the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, declared Friday, today, a work-free day and imposed a restriction of movement from 8 p.m. today until 6 p.m. tomorrow. Now, yesterday evening, political parties concluded their campaigns, urging residents to participate actively in the polls across the 6 FCT area councils. Voters in Abuja municipal area, which also include Buari, Gwagwalada, Kuje, Abaji and Kwali, will head to the polls to elect chairmen and councillors. A total of 68 positions are being contested, including 6 chairmanship seats and 62 councillorship roles. A breakdown of the figures across the 6 area councils shows a strong turnout in this PVC collection. Benga, will we be expecting to see you at the polls tomorrow?
Well, you never can tell anything is possible as a journalist telling the story of a group of people deciding their political future. I think everyone should be very interested in seeing how the poll turns out, especially as we look ahead of the bigger picture of 2027 election. We believe that this should have been a litmus test, but it's coming as an anticlimax because of this contentious 2026 bill, which can still be amended anyway, but it's looking shrouded in a lot of despair and uncertainty. But now, when we look at the figure, about over 1.5 million registered voters in a population of 1.9 million, that shows a deeply religious and virulent participation in the voting process. So we have a deeply politically religious polity at play. That's very encouraging because in any election system we have a tripod of concerns, and that's one, the integrity of the process, the capacity of INEC now, which is running on a very conflicting mood, and we have the issue of voter participation, which is very encouraging when we look at the percentage of voter participation ahead of this. And we saw the police, the Deputy Police Commissioner of Police, Ishaku, leading the show of force. And he has said that 23 strike force will be deployed. And this is according to the assessment of the vulnerability and the risk assessment of the police. And I think 1,000 policemen will be deployed to safeguard this electoral process. But again, in a situation where the law clearly spells out that the INEC has the prerogative to determine an election, and now the National Assembly has imposed its own version, which has been assented to by the president. So it leaves a huge landmine in determining what comes out of this kind of election, because an election that comes amid a lot of contention on the bill, on the rules of the empire. So it leaves a lot of questions if you ask me. But again, we've seen the kind of participation that we want to see. The people have come out and they have expressed their resentment against multiple taxation. So it shows that the people are eager to elect a leader that would drive the future of the FCT to their desired future. So I think it's going to play out in a very interesting manner tomorrow, and I hope that we're going to have what will be called a credible litmus test ahead of the Nigeria's 2027 election.
Well, Benga, part of what you spoke about as well was the tripod of concerns, and I liked that. And a part that I want to pick at is particularly in the area of security. You know, they said 1,000 police, according to the report that you gave.
Though with the support of some other security agencies.
Yes, because we also saw that the EFCC would be present at the polls tomorrow, and which I found to be very interesting, because I believe that not a lot of people understand and know why this would be. But that's on the side. I want to ask about the security for tomorrow. Do you think that people can now come out safely in their numbers, as you know, Minister Nyesom Wike is encouraging people to come out en masse? Do you think that it's going to be safe enough? It's going to be credible enough, and that the expectations that people have are going to be met?
Yeah, I see a promising outcome of tomorrow's. I see a very encouraging outcome of tomorrow's election, though my concerns is just that electoral draft that has been shrouded with so much contention and controversy. Absolutely. But you know that the Nigerian police has also issued a curfew, restriction of movement from 6 a.m. Tomorrow to 6 p.m. tomorrow. So that strengthens the FCT minister's restriction order. So I see a considerable chance of having a credible...
Sorry to cut you short, but about that curfew that you mentioned, I believe the latest update after he mentioned the work-free day, it's actually from 8 p.m. tonight. So the curfew is from 8 p.m. tonight until 6 p.m. tomorrow, and not the previous.
No. I'm talking about the police restriction order would eventually strengthen the FCT minister's restriction order as time goes on. As we build up to tomorrow, 6 a.m.
Well, I get your point. Yeah. Well, let's move on to another story, as we'll look forward to the updates that will come from there. Let's pull up the Daily Trust and see what it says there. In the front, we have terrorists kill 34 fasting Muslims in Kebbi latest attack. Now, still looking at Daily Trust with this report, jihadist fighters have killed dozens of people and destroyed 7 villages in raids in Kebbi State. Now, Kebbi State Police spokesman said members of the Lakrawa group attacked villages in the Bui district of Arewa Northern region at around 1 p.m. A resident in one of the villages told reporters that at least 35 people had been killed and, quote, "We were in our homes, we heard gunshots. People outside began to run into their shelters and gunshots hit some people." Now that's what was said by one of the residents of Kanzo. The attacks came days after the state hosted the UNESCO-listed Argungu Fishing Festival, about 60 kilometers from the Arewa region where the attacks took place. Now, Benga, we spoke at this table highlighting the dangers associated with terrorism and banditry just a few days ago. We specifically mentioned the Argungu Festival and how locals can be protected from terrorist attacks, from banditry, and then 2 days later, we're seeing this gruesome attack. Now, the persistent terrorist attacks across the nation don't seem to be abating at all. But one thing I want to really highlight is that this report, what it says about the narrative that only Christians are being targeted, isn't that a bit ironic? Especially as well during this Ramadan season, that it says that the victims were fasting when they were killed.
Yeah, if it only means that the allegation against Christian genocide would fast track and accelerate the need to fight terrorists with all sense of responsibility and accountability, then so be it. So be it. Something has to trigger something. We cannot continue to watch our nation turn into a killing field. It's such a huge and utter tragedy that every Nigerian must stand up against. This is not funny at all. Innocent 34 lives have gone during the month of Ramadan. So definitely, we've always argued it here that it's not the killings in Nigeria, the insecurity in Nigeria shouldn't be looked at through the religious lens.
Right.
It should be looked at through a threat against our shared values and humanity. But when you look deeply into this, it resonates a lot of underlying issues. Look at the poverty rate in Kebbi State, it's 88%. You look at the literacy rate from 7 to 14, age 7 to 14 is very, very alarming, 95%. You can check it out. So it's very disturbing, and this also comes out as a peculiar problem of border areas. Our Shaku, Mamamun communities and others, they are border communities. So when you look at this issue, we talked about that regurgitation of the narrative of ungoverned spaces. And the only solution that we have said about this, remember the northern governors met last year and they came out to adopt this state policing. Why is the National Assembly shying away from this narrative? Because it's a threat, an existential threat that connects deeply, that draws a deep requirement from local intelligence. The federal headquarters of policing and all that cannot do the job of state policing. This is a necessity, it's not an option. So if the president knows that he is sincere, is deeply concerned without beyond the narrative of I condemn this act is barbaric, this act is dastardly. We are tired of those narratives. We need a concrete action. And that's why the United Nations came up with that resilient theme, said from prayers to action. It means that we must step up a concrete action. Because what is the guarantee that this this tragic incident will not reoccur again? So it throws everyone into that reality of the night falling. So where everyone goes through the night imagining that sipping pause of a murderer touching on innocent citizens. We don't deserve this. Section 14 of the law of 1999 Constitution as amendment says that security and welfare shall be the primary responsibility of government, which means that judging by this constitutional key performance index, any issues like this means that there is a need for accountability and someone should account for this. And failure to account for this means that the person should resign.
I must commend you, Benga, for your consistency in pushing for this state policing, because I think it's a conversation that comes and goes depending on what headline is making the front news of that particular day. But very well said on the issue of accountability and us needing to really do something about this than merely just speak about it. Let's move on to another story, still speaking about the police. And this is a different kind of story today, and it's in the Punch, where police to prosecute a TikToker over false rape claims. Now, this is a very important conversation, and a young lady named Mirabelle had earlier alleged that she was attacked and raped by a stranger who forcibly gained access to her apartment in Ogun State. Now, the allegation, which she shared on social media platform of TikTok, sparked widespread outrage, with many users calling for swift action against sexual violence. Now, here are the details. She reported at the Ibafo police station, where the facts of the case were obtained. Preliminary findings revealed that the alleged incident occurred within the Ogijo jurisdiction. Now, she was promptly escorted to a medical facility for assessment and for urgent attention. Following the treatment, she was conveyed to the police station for proper documentation, all the things that they would need to do to investigate the procedure, only for it now to be revealed that the entire case was a lie. The Ogun State Police Command has concluded plans to arrest and prosecute Mirabelle after she allegedly admitted that her earlier claim of rape was actually false. Filing a false rape claim is a criminal offense, Menga. One cannot cry away a criminal offense with an apology and say, "I'm very sorry, I didn't mean to do this." What do you make of this story?
Without taking sides on each of the gender, we have a situation now that people are now becoming endangered species, because the first accuser thinks that they can always weaponize blackmail and false allegation. So we need to build a system where a culture of thorough investigation should be entrenched, so that innocent people would not be caught in this in this line of fire, in this wrongfully in this line of fire. I think that this resonates in lots of people's belief that now they can live, and it's also a culture that, if left to fester, could promote cheap blackmail, which we see in the generations of many people now. That there is this attitudinal disposition that, okay, they can bring someone down, and people are now becoming recurringly an endangered species. So I think the authorities should stand up against this.
Now let's look at the international papers, and looking at The Guardian, The Sun and The Daily Express. UK police arrest ex-Prince Andrew over misconduct in public office. Now, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew, has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. His arrest comes on the heels of allegations linked to Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender. Now, the Thames Valley Police confirmed Mountbatten Windsor's arrest on Thursday as he turned 66. We spoke about this earlier. Authorities confirmed that the arrest is not related to sexual offense allegations, but to concerns over confidential information that was allegedly shared during his time as the UK's trade envoy. Now, Andrew Mountbatten has now been released, and we have seen the popular image, as we see on the screen right now, flying around, of the former prince looking haggard and shamed as he ducks down in the back of a car. Seeing this report and bearing in mind that his brother, King Charles, calling for justice to be served, shows how grave the allegations are, and in addition to the Jeffrey Epstein elephant in the room. Now, on the side, how the king continues to respond in relation to Andrew will truly determine how the king is viewed in the eyes of the people. Benga, Andrew has consistently denied any wrongdoing in all of this. Will he survive this media and legal assassination that is coming for him?
Very interesting timelines, I would say. You recall that Virginia Giuffre has accused Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, yes, for on the allegation of sexual abuse, but it was settled out of court in 2022, and there was no admittance of wrongdoing.
I mean,
but
that's
now,
one of many.
Just to add to it now. So yesterday we saw a situation where he was meant to go back to his house in Sandringham Estate, but his house in Berkshire at the Royal Lodge was being attacked by the Thames Valley Police. So it shows that this is a society where you can't run away, you can't escape the long arms of the law.
Absolutely.
And I think that the reaction of King Charles at the royal institution of the monarch institution of UK has been very consistent, not trying to use their influence in any way, and because he has said categorically that the law must take its course. So when you look at this, it still shows a system of accountability. And even President Donald Trump has said that this is a shame, and it's a dent on the reputation of the monarch in UK. So we'll watch how this unfolds.
A royal embarrassment indeed. Anyway, that's all for our headlines today and our top stories.